And not only that, all these local cases like Fani. It's spelled Fanny. It's spelled Fanny like your ass, right, Fanny? But when she became DA, she decided to add a little French, a little fancy. Fani. Fani and, you know, Fani and Mr. and Mrs. Wade, which his wife did not appreciate. His wife didn't appreciate. Can you imagine these two people trying to take down I'm a very popular president. I mean, again, I got more votes than any sitting president in history. We have these two lowlifes trying to take down a president of the United States. But, you know, equally badly, they went after 26 people. They wanted to make it 48 people. They had some senators that these guys know very well who were indicted, who were ready to be indicted, and somebody stopped it. And they wanted to find out what the hell is going on in Georgia, what's going on with the elections, and it's so crazy. And they almost got indicted for that.
All right, guys, so we got to follow up on the Fani Willis story. As you guys all know, Judge McAfee made a cowardly decision to allow Fani Willis to stay on the RICO case if she gets rid of Nathan Wade, in which Nathan Wade has already stepped down from the case. Now, again, I was hoping that I wouldn't have to talk about Fani Pack Willis anymore after yesterday, because I thought that the judge maybe, just maybe, was going to do the right thing. But no, he didn't, okay? He tried to save his political career because he's in Fulton County with a bunch of Democrats, and he's up for re-election. He has an election challenge. And if he had actually ruled the right way, which was to disqualify Miss Fani Willis for the clear and obvious conflict of interest, plus the fact that her and her boyfriend lied to the court, then he would have faced crucifixion from the woke mob, okay? They would have came out and said that he's a white supremacist. He's the grand cyclops of the KKK. His courtroom is basically a clavern, right? A meeting place for white supremacists, okay? And KKK members, okay? They would have said all types of crazy stuff about this guy, okay? They would have dug up so much dirt on this man. It would have been over for him, okay? So I personally think that he was scared, okay? I think that he took the coward's way out, and he basically delivered a blow to Fani Willis that was almost fatal, but not quite fatal, okay? But bad enough that other entities could take down Fani Willis, okay? And that's probably the reason why you have Trump coming out here and roasting Fani Willis, despite the fact that she can stay on the case. He's openly taunting and roasting her because I think that everybody knows that this is not over yet. At the very least, this case has been significantly delayed. And maybe, just maybe, there is a chance that once you start to get ethics complaints, once the GOP in Georgia starts to investigate, all types of things could happen that could ultimately end up with this case dying by 1,000 cuts. It's just that the judge didn't have the stones to do it himself, to deliver the knockout blow to Fani Willis. I mean, even the mainstream level media is saying that, yeah, I mean, this case could go nowhere, right? It quite possibly is not going to go anywhere. And that Fani Willis, if she actually really wants to save the case, she should resign. Again, this is being said on mainstream liberal media. Take a look.
But I think the key here is how to go forward, because clearly Wade is off. But I think that this is such a huge body blow, almost a fatal blow to Fani Willis. I think the way forward is she has to voluntarily recuse herself. I don't know that she has it in her, but I think she has to say, I'm going to appoint like a chief assistant who's going to oversee this case. She clearly has no credibility with this judge, and these issues are going to be taken up. And the judge invites these issues to be taken up by all sorts of other Georgia regulators, including the Georgia Assembly, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, the State Ethics Commission. I mean, he lists that. So I think the best thing, if your first interest is the sanctity of this case, which I agree with you, Joe, this is the most important case in Georgia. And of the 4 Trump cases, this may be the most important because it's one that will last regardless of whether Donald Trump wins the presidency or not. If your first interest is this case, I think she needs to remove herself voluntarily and just say someone else is going to oversee this case in Georgia, so that whatever happens to her in terms of ethics it doesn't taint this case.
Jeff, I mean, the judge's opinion was a scathing rebuke of Willis, her judgment. He wrote that the reasonable questions remain about whether Willis and Wade testified untruthfully about the timing of their relationship. I mean, that's...
Today was a very good day for Donald Trump. This case is going nowhere. Even if, in the extremely unlikely event that this somehow staggers to trial in August or in the fall, think about this. There's another racketeering case in Georgia where jury selection, not the trial, jury selection has taken a year. This case is never going to trial before the election. You know, it's an embarrassment, all of this. I mean, Fani Willis has hung on, but this case is going nowhere very quickly.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, to be fair, opinions vary across the board, okay? But the fact that you do have lawyers in the mainstream liberal media openly saying out loud that, yeah, it's kind of bad, right, for her to continue to stay on this case, it's not over yet. Best believe it's not over yet, because Fani Willis is already facing ethical complaints, right? Complaints to the State Bar Association about her behavior. And again, I think it's just the beginning of the end for Fani Willis. Take a look.
And we have a Newsmax breaking news exclusive. Here it is, folks. For the very first time, we can reveal new information never before reported, detailing District Attorney Fani Willis's fall from grace that some say should get her disbarred. In this brand new Fulton County Court document obtained, Georgia resident, he's an IT technician, Stephen Kramer, claims in this official bar complaint you are looking at that DA Willis broke several ethics rules while charges of election interference were being brought against former President Donald Trump. In fact, Kramer's bar complaint goes as far as to claiming Willis even used her position as DA to, quote, threaten Nathan Wade's wife, a person she would later have a relationship with and hire as the prosecutor. All right, we're talking exclusively to Stephen Kramer. He joins us live right now. Mr. Kramer, pleasure to have you here on Newsline. You say some people have been afraid to go up against Fani Willis. Clearly you are not. We appreciate you joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me, Bianca.
Well, you stayed out in your bar complaint, which we have right here, basically 9 rules of why you believe not only should Judge Scott McAfee disqualify her, but you say it's even so serious she should be disbarred, which means therefore she would be ineligible to even hold the position of district attorney. You have a lot in your complaint here. We're going to put up some of the graphics here. But basically, you're saying Nathan Wade, not only in a relationship, but paid higher amounts, was not qualified among the many things you alleged in the breaking of the rules. Explain to us how you were able to put all of this together so succinctly.
Well, I was watching the news since January when all this broke, that a defense attorney found out that they were sleeping together, which she initially denied or didn't speak to. And then it came out that she did. And so I was watching that. I've watched a number of items there. I watched the Senate hearing, the Georgia Senate hearing that they had on the 6th of this month. And I voraciously read a number of things because it just didn't sit well with me, what I was hearing. That I'm a taxpayer. My money was going to her boyfriend, and then they were going on trips together. So all the taxpayers of Fulton were funding exotic trips on cruises and to Napa and all this, and money was going from taxpayers to him and then back to Fani Willis.
At issue, it's not just money. You also talk about truthfulness. You talk about misconduct. You talk about a lawyer as a public official constituting threat of harm to clients. We know that recent text reveal, it looks like they had been together for what your bar complaint says booty calls. I mean, that is metadata. As an IT technician, you understand that. That's been brought out. And also you cite in your bar complaint these comments that she made at a church, her first public comments when this story first broke.
In which she boohoo, whined, and cried racism against the defense, something that the judge characterized as legally improper, right? Whatever the hell that means. Okay. I mean, this guy really did try to finesse when it came to this ruling. But again, he essentially openly invited a bunch of other entities to come in and to potentially do something about Fani Willis because he didn't have the stones to do it himself. So again, you have investigations into Fani Willis, in regards to misuse of taxpayer funds. Okay, you have ethics complaints. Okay, you have all types of other issues that Fani Willis could be facing on top of appeals, okay, of the judge's decision that could continue to delay and delay and delay this trial. Okay, at the very least, it looks like this probably will not happen before the election, which is kind of what they wanted. Okay, that was the whole point, right? And maybe, just maybe, again, if the Republicans had the stones, okay, that they should have, what they should really do is just have this new prosecutorial oversight commission that they just created, rush the investigation of Fani Willis, and just remove her from the case, right? And if she's removed from the case, then that will make the case fall apart. Because then at that point, you have to find somebody else to take the case. At the very least, that would guarantee that the case will not happen before the election. And then, yeah, I think that's what should happen, okay? I mean, there's ways to go about doing this if Republicans had the stones, right? If they actually had the stones to do what Democrats do all the time, then they can get it done. I'm so serious. What happens to Fani Willis moving forward is going to come down to Republicans. How bad do Republicans want to punish Fani Willis? I'm so serious. That's what it's going to come down to. So, again, I wouldn't put much faith in the Republicans, okay, because they've shown, you know, that they're not very friendly towards Trump, especially those Georgia Republicans, despite the fact that, I mean, that state is MAGA for the most part when it comes to the Republican base. But, you know, hey, I mean, the voters are stuck between a rock and a hard place because the Republicans have the power to do what they got to do. And ultimately, if voters pressure them to do that, that's probably what they would do, okay? Just kind of like how you have the pro-Palestine voters essentially pressuring Democrats when it comes to the issue of Israel. I mean, you have the highest-ranking member of the Senate, Chuck Schumer. He came out and called for regime change in Israel as a result of the Democrat base basically saying we're not going to vote for Joe Biden over the issue. Now, again, if Republicans in Georgia applied the same pressure to the Republicans at the state legislature and Brian Kemp, I guarantee you they can get rid of Fani Willis. So, again, you know, there's a lot of things that need to happen if you want to get rid of Fani Willis and to save Trump from this clearly and obvious political persecution that is being done by this corrupt DA. I mean, she has been absolutely destroyed. Her reputation is donezo, okay? Now, again, all this may not necessarily be needed because she's so incompetent that I find it hard to believe that she could actually get a conviction, a solid conviction, right? That's how incompetent she is. But regardless, we shouldn't even allow it to go forward at this point. So with that being said, again, you know, the mainstream liberal media, they're freaking out because they know that the writing's on the wall for Fani Willis, that at the very least she's been embarrassed and that this case is in serious jeopardy because of what has happened up until this point, and they're having a full-blown meltdown. So this is a pretty hilarious reaction here from MSNBC.
Me, you take the slide to the right or slide to the left, but you're not center stage.
Can I say something?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, they tried to steal an election.
Right.
The former president of the United States of America and his little friends, as my mother would say, tried to steal an election. And the DA, Fani Willis, is seeking to hold them accountable.
Right.
And because she sought that accountability, the former president and his little friends, allies, Ashley Merchant, the attorney for one of those individuals, they then tried to distract us with salacious gossip, because that is what this is, because if there were facts, we would have found them. And it worked so much so that very well-meaning people who know a lot, lots of very smart lawyers in this country are walking around and sitting up on television being like, well, I don't know if Fani Willis could stay on this case. This was a distraction.
Right. Alvin Bragg doesn't have that problem in New York.
But this was a distraction because they haven't tried to distract him with this.
Like, they don't have anything to hang on Alvin Bragg's head.
They can make it up. They didn't have anything about Fani Willis, and I'm so animated about this. I'm sorry. I'm very animated about this because this is... We are
an embarrassment to black women, right? That's why, right? That's what she's so upset about, okay? She's mad. By the way, this is a great screenshot. I got to get this, right? This is an amazing screenshot. This is going in the thumbnail, okay? But anyways, she's upset talking about accountability, but yet she doesn't want to hold Fani Willis accountable. If there was nothing there, then Nathan Wade would not have been required to be removed, right? Obviously, clearly there's something there. And the fair analysis here would have been to hold Fani Willis accountable and say, well, you're just stupid for putting yourself in this situation in the first place. You're just dumb, okay? But no. They try to pretend, oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing. All this is just made up. They don't have nothing. But yet, Nathan Wade was required to be removed. So if they had nothing, then why did Nathan Wade have to be removed? Again, you know, what they're really upset about here is Fani Willis being embarrassed, because I'm telling you, what you see happening right now with people like Fani Willis, the Tiffany Henyards of the world, is that a lot of people are seeing the writing on the wall when it comes to these liberal black women, right? And the fact that these people, they are very corrupt and they have no business whatsoever being in the positions of power that they're in. But yet they got that position of power because they're black and they're a woman, okay? And it's a threat to what people like Simone Sanders, the system that she benefits from, right? I mean, let's keep it 100. Why does Simone Sanders have this job, right? Clearly, she ain't the most talented individual at MSNBC. She has the job because she's a black woman that worked for the Biden administration, right? That's why she has the job, right? She's a DEI hire, okay? And the downfall of Fani Willis and some of these other liberal black women, again, is a threat to her own agenda, right? And this is what they're so upset about. This is why she doesn't want to hold Fani Willis accountable. But people who actually care about black folks being in position of power actually should hold people like Fani Willis accountable, because for every Fani Willis that embarrasses black people, for every Tiffany Henyard that also embarrasses black people, it makes it harder for black people who are actually qualified to get into these positions of power, because every time they are up for a job, people are going to question them and say, hey, do you actually have the qualifications? And that's the problem, right? She should actually be pissed with Fani Willis that Fani Willis has allowed herself to be this embarrassed that it makes it harder for black people that are trying to come up and to get into positions of powers like hers. But again, you know, people like Simone Sanders, again, they benefit from this diversity hire system. And this is what she's so upset about, right? This is what she's so mad about.
All have a duty, I think, to remind people about what this is really about. And frankly, if Fani Willis was a man named Frank, I don't believe that they would have been able to distract us with the salacious gossip about, oh, well, Frank hired Susie so that Frank could financially benefit from Susie being on the case. So it is a little sexist. It's a little racist.
See, here we go. When you don't have an argument, it's racist. It's racist. And then he brought up Alvin Bragg. Well, there's no allegations of Alvin Bragg hiring a special prosecutor to go after his political opponent and then sleeping with that person, right? Now, if there was something there, I best believe they'd be using it against him, right? So it's not sexism. It's not racism. It's just she was dumb, right? She's clearly and obviously corrupt. She clearly and obviously hired this guy, her boyfriend, and got him paid, and she benefited with kickbacks and the fact that she's in a relationship with him, right? But again, instead of holding her accountable, no, it's racism. Oh, it's sexism. Again, it's stunning, right? It really is.
Well, here's you are focusing. Can I just say you are focusing us on what really matters here, right? I think about that moment when Fani Willis said, "I'm not the one who is on trial here, Katie." So what does it mean when you zoom out, Katie, for accountability for Donald Trump, who is actually the person who is on trial?
Well, like you were saying, she tried, as in Fani Willis tried to redirect the meaning of what is happening here. The role that she's taking is to make sure that accountability is not had for her, but for Donald Trump and his co-defendants that tried to steal the results and overturn the results of a lawful election in the state of Georgia. Accountability, though, is defined in so many different ways, right? You can have accountability at the ballot box, but when it comes to justice, I was just talking with one of my producers this morning about the fact that a lot of us are tired and we feel fatigue because The way that Trump has gamed the legal system looks like he's never going to see accountability the way that you and I would, and Michael and Simone and Anthony would. Like, if any of us were just Joe defendant or Jolene defendant and we went to court, we wouldn't be able to game the system like this. And I think that is why I've talked about the Trump effect. It's not just a double standard. It's an effect on the system. It's people saying, kind of like Michael just said too, right? This is such a big case. Why would you want to kind of, have a pile-on of inappropriate scrutiny or bad scrutiny on such a big case? Shouldn't you really be minding your P's and Q's so much more? Well, yeah, you should because of what's at stake. But why are we always treating him so much differently than we do any other criminal defendant? And that is a problem. And what he's done effectively is Letitia James with Alvin Bragg, with, now Fani Willis. Trump redirects the focus from him and his criminal action to things like a black woman with cash boxes in her home, right? That's what he does. He does that effectively, and I think that what's always been an underestimation of him is that skill. That's a really good skill set when you're a criminal defendant, by the way.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. They're really arguing on MSNBC. This is how out of touch with reality these people are. They're arguing that Trump is getting special treatment in the legal system when, quite literally, we're seeing lawfare being waged against Trump that we've never seen before. Just because he is the political opponent of Democrats. Okay, I mean, we saw Joe Biden get away with his classified document scandal. Hillary Clinton gets away with her crimes. But yet they're trying to act like Trump is getting some type of special treatment because Trump is utilizing legal methods that are allowed in the judicial system to delay his trial. Again, it's amazing how that works. Okay, because again, all of this is about Trump getting convicted before the election so that they can rig the outcome of the election, which is funny because they accuse Trump of trying to steal an election, which apparently, you're not supposed to do, right? But they can accuse Trump of trying to steal an election. However, if it's the other way around, oh, well, you're insurrectionist, right? And you're a threat to democracy. Again, it's amazing how that works. But yeah, they're melting down, right? They're upset. Even though Fani Willis is surviving for now, it's definitely not over at the very least, okay? It looks very, very, very unlikely that that trial is going to start before the election, that she's going to get a conviction for the election, which, again, is the whole point, right? Now, again, how you actually deal with Fani Willis, what actually going to happen to her, again, I think it really does come down to the Republican Party in Georgia. So with that being said, I wouldn't get my hopes up that anything actually really is going to happen with her. I think right now we can kind of, expect that the trial won't take place before the election, which is basically, a W for Trump at this point. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.